Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Zappy here, back again with Hunter x Hunter. We are on episode 141. In the last episode, Killua left the Zoldyck family estate with Aluka. They're heading off to, obviously, to Gon right now. God knows how long it's going to take them to get there, but considering there is only 8 episodes left, I'd hope not very long. But he's being followed, actually pretty much, we'll have Goto and Canary who are tagging along, as well as a new butler who we got introduced to last episode called Tsubone, who's this old woman that is very similar to Bisky when she's in her actual form. So they're going over there. We have Hisoka and Illumi. We don't know where they're going, if they're just going to wait for Killua to turn up, or if they are hunting them down. I don't know. And what else? Kurapika, he's sitting alone in a room. No idea where though. But he's got his Scarlet Eyes activated, and he's not answering his phone, even though it's in his hand. So he knows that it's calling. I don't know the reasons why. I have some theories about all this stuff, and in the last post discussion. So if you want to go, have a gander at that, then go ahead. And then we also have Leorio, who hit Jean, which was a big thing because no one's hit Jean so far, at least on screen. So that's a big deal. Even though I think Jean took it as a sort of I deserve this kind of thing. But again, I talk about all that stuff in the last episode post discussion. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. We're just going to get straight into episode 141 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 141. Right, there was a lot to take in on that episode. I had to go back and just basically go through all of the top 16, because there were some in the top 16 that are actually interesting, to talk about a little bit, and yeah. So I guess we'll start with that then. So the top 16. So obviously they went through this a few episodes back when they were talking about the elections and whatnot, and that if it got to a certain point, and they still hadn't decided, and the election wasn't valid, that they would start cutting down the number. So if this one doesn't go through, this next one, then it'll go down to 8, I think, right? So yeah, eventually it will get to a point where there has to be somebody on top with more than 50% of the votes. And obviously right now Parson's in the lead, which I don't like. But yeah, so we'll just go through them. So obviously from number 1 to 16. So Paraston is the first one. It's interesting as well, well, actually, you know what? I'll not do that yet. So Paraston, yeah. So he's a triple star hunter, and obviously the vice chairman as well. Cheadle, she's number 2. She's also a triple star hunter, which is very surprising actually. I guess I've got nothing to base that on other than the fact that of what they look like, I suppose. But yeah, and then the third one was Leorio, which was great. I love the fact that that's a thing. It makes me wonder if Jean actually knew that, and that was the reason why he took the punch. If there's because Jean, he does have that sort of thing about him where he's kind of always 10 steps ahead. So it makes me wonder if but then again, he couldn't have planned this. The only thing that he would have had to think on his feet. He would, wouldn't he? He would have to think so quick on his feet. But then again, I've said before in a previous episode that it's almost like Jean, hypothetically could almost see the future, because everything almost plays into Jean's hands in a way. Now I don't think that's the case, but I also said it may not just be that he sees the future, but the fact that he may just be observing, and therefore he knows that things will go a certain way. If he had have been observing this whole time, everything to do with Gon and everything, then he may, depend on how much he's been observing. I guess it's not too far out the ballpark to say that Leorio is that kind of person that in this situation would have done what he did. But I don't know. the thing is that Gene just he is that kind of person that is almost like 10 steps ahead. So it wouldn't surprise me if he took the punch. I thought last episode it was he took the punch because he was like I deserved it and it was punishment, but really, I'm almost questioning that now, and I feel like he took the punch knowing that Leorio would shoot up in the votes, and if he is planning for Leorio to actually be the main competitor up against Pariston, and that if he can continue this on with Leorio, then Leorio could pass him possibly. I mean, that would be insane. Can you imagine Leorio becoming the chairman? What? That would be nuts, wouldn't it? Ugh. Yeah, that would be crazy. So yeah, Leorio, number 3. Botabai, he's number 4, which is another triple star hunter, and I believe that was the only other triple star hunter, so I think that's the 3. At least that we know of in the Zodiac 12 anyway, that are in the top 16 of the vote. So yeah, I don't think have we gotten information that that's basically the limit of what you can get in terms of stars. I think I've asked this question before and I can't remember. But yeah, anyway, aside from the fact that Botabai is also a triple star hunter, he's also the closest to Netero in so reputation, but also in reality. So I guess when it said in the subtitles reality, I'm guessing that means that he was close to the closest to Netero out of all of the Zodiac 12. Which, I mean, it looks that way. Like, he's definitely got like that more older, experienced sort of vibe that it wouldn't surprise me. So yeah. After that, we had Mazai Storm, who is the cow dude, right? It's definitely not cow. I can't remember which one it is. Oh, the bull. Is that right? Bull? I think it's the bull, yeah. Ikshon, or Ikshon. That guy. I remember asking a couple episodes ago, like, who is that? Because we haven't seen that guy yet. I wasn't expecting that, though. Like, what is it? He's a hacker hunter, and he lives in a digital world. So it's not like Greed Island, because that's obviously in the real world, but it's almost poised as a digital world. But he's actually within a digital world. Like, what does he even? Oh well, I suppose hacker hunter. So he goes out in search of hackers and takes them out. It's pretty cool. I mean, the way that he looks, though, man. I mean, it's weird that if he lives in a digital world, does he ever come out of the digital world? And also, it's interesting why he would be like so high up in the list. Maybe they're maybe the idea is that I may be looking way too far into this, but maybe it's the idea that because he is so good within that sort of that space, that there can't be like, they trust him in that environment, so that it can't be like used against them in any way, or like people feel safer because of that. I don't know. Who the fuck knows? So yeah, after that we had Pterodine. Is that the way? Pterodine. That was the older looking bloke who he said that he was like, he had an eye out for talent or something like that. He looks alright, to be fair. I mean, judging on the way that he looks. So there's that. Morel. So Morel he is a single star hunter, but it claimed that he was a sea hunter. What does that mean? I never had him like pegged for that kind of thing, but then I guess we only really met him in the Chimera Ant arc, right? And obviously there was no point in being in the sea then. I guess it was just beforehand he was more privy to the sea, but even like mix him with his sort of Nen abilities and stuff, and like the idea of him being on the sea almost doesn't really mix well. But I don't know. I mean, it's called a sea hunter, but that's not the interesting bit anyway. The interesting bit is that Beans pointed out that he could get more stars for defeating the Chimera Ants, and also triple as well. So that means he would take a double. He would basically jump 2 stars. He would jump a star and miss out on the double and go straight for the triple, which is kind of insane, but I guess it's just related to the threat. I remember them talking about it like once, like way back, about the stars and stuff, and how they're basically just tied to essentially, life achievements or like goals, like events that shape the world in some way or help. And when it comes to the Chimera Ants, yeah, that was a big deal. That was a very big deal. But here's the thing: considering how much Morel actually did, like obviously I'm not taking anything away from him, but like when you look at the invasion as a whole, the Palace invasion, Netero was the only one that ever really did anything like significant to the Chimera Ants aside from Gon. Basically, I suppose. Here's the thing. I'm not taking anything away from the guys that went in on the Palace invasion, because they all deserve credit for just going in there anyway. Like, shoot, right? He was the first one out, but fucking he put up a fight. So they all deserve it, in my opinion. I'm just setting up the whole idea that if Morel, judging by what he accomplished in that the Palace invasion, surely everybody that went in on the Palace invasion deserves it as well. Who was a hunter? Obviously, the likes of Calgo is not gonna. But then again, like Calgo being like, you'll be in hiding, right? Because him, it's like sort of come out into the public eye right now is a bit iffy. But the likes of Killua, Gon. They should. If Morel's jumping up, then they should fucking jump up as well, right? And they should become star hunters as well. That's just me though. So yeah, interesting. And then we had, who was next? Sacho. So that was the guy who was. He had an interesting one actually. I didn't write it down. What was it? Oh, what was it? No, I should have written it down because I kind of missed like some that I was like, yeah, whatever. But like now that I remember, it is a bit of an odd hunter. Shit, I know exactly what it is, but for some reason in my head I'm thinking choreograph, but that's not right. It's something similar though, and I just can't, it's like a similar word, and I can't, like my brain just won't fucking let me remember it. That's annoying. Anyway, the subtitles almost made it seem like he was a bit sneaky, but I don't know. So yeah, that was Sacho. Bisky is up there as well, so she's pretty high, which is interesting. Sambika, who was a virus hunter, I believe, which is an interesting one. And she's asked that people don't vote for her, but people do anyway. I guess after this vote, they'll probably not be. I guess like for the idea of the story, like getting rid of like maybe names for, because I think inevitably this next vote is going to fail again, and then they're going to have to half it to 8. So I feel like getting out some names that obviously like don't want to be involved in it, Sambika being one of them, I'd imagine. Considering she's the one that basically said no, don't vote for me. I feel like she'll not be in the 8, like coming up. We had Lynn, who is the oldest hunter. She was a gourmet hunter as well, but we've that's nothing new. We've seen one back in the hunter exam. So yeah, she's the oldest association hunter. Didn't specify how old though. So there is that. We had Bushidora, who basically looks like he should be in JoJo. He looks like a JoJo character. I think it said he was like a disciplinary hunter or something like that. Which, yeah, judging by his look, that kind of goes hand in hand. Lupe, who specializes in finding missing persons, so he's an interesting one, I think. I'm not sure if that will sort of tie into the election and him being part of the 8 after this vote inevitably fails, because it will. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. But he'll be interesting considering the fact that who was it? Was it Mizai Storm that pointed out the missing persons thing in relation to Pariston? Because I feel like that's an interesting sort of dynamic with Lupe, and if that will come back up at some point. But I feel like it's no coincidence that they brought that character in specifically for the vote. Like, story-wise, it almost feels like it should feed into that. But, who knows. We had Cutie, who is Pariston's, the leader of the fan club for Pariston, which I don't even know about that one. That one's just ridiculous. But I can also see, like, a case for, like, I can see, like, a way that this could work where she ends up actually in the last 8, and I feel like if that is the case, if she makes it through to the last 8, I feel like Pariston put her up to that, and like he's been trying to do things in a roundabout way, like similar to the way Jean's doing something, but Pariston's obviously all for himself, where I feel like Jean's a bit more for like carrying on the whole Netero's, like, the way that Netero wanted it to go. But we'll see what happens with that. And then Jean, he's the last one, so he remained in, the last guy, and also he's only a double star as well, which is interesting. I don't know if that ever cropped up before. But I guess I always, like, I don't know, when people like talked about Jean and the fact that he was like so. They held him in such high regard. I was almost thinking, like, he's got to be a triple star hunter, surely. But I guess not. He's only a double star. But I don't know. I guess that's that. So yeah, that is all of the top 16 that are going into the next vote. If I had to guess who would fucking go into the next 8, I mean, Pariston will obviously be there. Cheadle will be there. Leorio will be there. Because I'm going with that theory that Jean wanted Leorio in the vote to fight against Pariston. I feel like it's almost too perfect not to work that way, right? It has to be. Oh god, who else? I feel like Lupe will stay in the vote, so that's 4. I feel like Jean could go out, because if I'm going with this theory that he wanted Leorio in, there may be no need for him to be in the next one, and then that way, if that is the case, because people aren't going to change their mind on Jean. Surely he's not going to get like the top 8 next time, surely. So I feel like if Jean was to go out in the next round, almost like Jean would obviously want that to be the case. It would basically like put like the likes of Pariston like in a state of like, oh well, that's it then, I've pretty don't have to worry about him anymore. Put him in like a state of like, well, I've got this now. So I don't think Jean will go through. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like those 4 though, I think that's almost definite. I feel like it makes sense almost to have Lupe, although I guess Lupe doesn't have to. Oh, I don't know. I feel like Pariston, Cheadle, and Leorio, though. The top 3, I think, will definitely stay there. The other ones are kind of just like, I don't know. Could be just anything, couldn't it? I think Cutie will as well. Let's just say that Pariston's like using her as a way to sort of, be a bit backhanded. But we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, right. And then after that, we went straight into, back to Killua and Alaka. We had Canary driving, and then out of nowhere, Illumi had manipulated a bunch of people to basically drive like oncoming around this disgusting fucking track off the side of the mountain, and then at one point Canary must have been driving like 90 degrees like upwards. I mean, that was just ridiculous. I'm sure she was doing that though. That was insane. And then, she came basically like flying off the side of the mountain like a ramp, dropped in into the middle of the road, got hit by a truck. A bunch of girders got flying through the air, straight through the limo. Missed every single one of them, which I can understand. I don't know how all of them survived like that drop though. I mean, there's no way for them to go. They are I don't know. They came away so unscathed in that regard. That was nuts. I don't know how. It's almost unbelievable how they didn't come away like, how they came away unscathed in that regard. But whatever, they did. So yeah. We had Killua, who was talking about Tsubone and Imane. So Imane is Tsubone's granddaughter, and both of them are also Silva's most trusted butlers. And they're essentially what he was talking about was he was obviously trusting of Killua. That much was obvious considering who he sent. So there is that. Though, considering what literally just happened with Killua darting off because he doesn't trust, they were like, no, we're bringing you back. Killua was like, well, if Luca's not come with me, then, screw you, you're all my enemy. He darted off. I don't know how Tsubone kept up with him. I don't even care if she even knew that might come at some point. Like, even if she was ready, that's Godspeed. Now, I can get it if Killua was just running like at his sort of like natural pace or whatever without Godspeed and whatnot, but that's Godspeed. He's using lightning to essentially quicken his moves to a point beyond like the natural barrier. So even Tsubone I don't even know, unless it was just a case of Killua did slow down. So it could be a case of like Tsubone just went in the direction that he was thinking that he would be up there at some point. But I don't know. I mean, Killua has noticed that there is somebody around him. We know that Tsubone was tracking him, but it could be Illumi as well. So we'll just have to wait and see in regards to that. Illumi knows that Killua removed his pin, and then when on the phone call previously they were talking about they were going into something about inner missions, which were missions that were integrated within the family. So it was it's family family matter stuff. But it was almost like they said, Illumi almost pointed out something like a rule, and I don't know if it is a rule or not, which is that no family members. Which is interesting, considering he almost nearly killed him anyway. He threw him down the mountain. I mean, I guess the idea is that of course that wouldn't kill Killua, but let's say on the off chance that it did, he just broke the old rule there. But then again, it's Illumi and he doesn't really give a fuck, does he? So who cares? Aside from that, the one thing that annoyed me was the 1 meter rule. That is bullshit. There's no way, in that kind of situation where he doesn't have well, clearly he had control because he managed to do it, but isn't that a bit bullshit? It was completely out of his control if that would be the case. Man, it's fucked. It's just fucked. Illumi did figure out that Killua was hiding rules anyway, so he'll just kill Alucard regardless, and that whole thing about him talking to Hisoka about on the blimp, right? All of that is just pretty much thrown out the window now. So there is that. Illumi did find out as well, due to having what he calls a little bird, which gives him information. Now, my first thought was Calico, because them two were kind of, they were kind of partnering up at one point, specifically during the auction they did to kill the 10 Dons, right? The only thing I would say to that though is Calico is with the Phantom Troop now, so I think they would have noticed if Calico was in the Zoldyck family estate. And also Goto said later on that they've got a butler on side, so there's somebody that is working for Illumi on the inside that is a butler. So but that was my first thought was Calico, but yeah, I mean I think it's pretty obvious it isn't at this point. What else? So yeah, Hisoka. This is probably my favorite part of the episode. Actually, Hisoka basically said, can I kill Killua? And then Illumi, with sheer bloodlust, like basically did his Hisoka in some form or fashion. Not the same, not exactly the same, but very similar. But the thing that really entertained me was the fact that Hisoka wasn't phased at all. Was absolutely not phased at all. But also then it was almost like revealed that he did it on purpose because he actually does want Gon to be saved. And then he, because by basically forcing that bloodlust out of there, it would be assumed that Killua would be able to sense that. So yeah, and then it went to like a scene filled with like almost like a toy box, right, of like Hisoka's toys. And I said that I would go back and almost like look at them all because I wanted to know like if all of them there were actually his targets, like, and like that was pretty much all of them, but there were some that interest me anyway. So I wrote them down as like Hisoka's hit list in a way. So Bisky is up there. I'm pretty sure Bisky is up there. I'm sure he would have got her from it was from Greed Island, right? I was about to say he would have probably picked up on that during the election because Bisky turned up, didn't she? But I think it was back at Greed Island because Bisky picked up on Hisoka's like whole shtick that he was doing back in Greed Island, and Hisoka was like impressed by that. So I think that's what it was. So yeah, Bisky's up there. The Phantom Troop, though, there's not every Phantom Troop member up there, which is interesting. I don't know if he took out the one specifically that had anything to do with the whole fortune telling thing, or what. But the whole Phantom Troop, like all of them, like specifically weren't there. There were like half of them, I think. The Zoldycks were up there, but interestingly, Silva was not. That's interesting. Because Zeno was there. Silva wasn't, though. The Hunter exam leaders, so all of them that led the different sort of phases and whatnot, are up there. Hanzo's up there, so clearly he, but it's interesting that one because Hanzo, we didn't really get to see sort of much of. He was kind of like on and off during the Hunter exam arc, but he did well against Gon. So I guess at that point it must have been where Hisoka was interested in from that point. And then the Zodiac 12 as well. Although not all the Zodiac 12 members are there either. Like for Paraston isn't there, for example. So it's interesting. It could just be a case of like not being able to fit everybody on screen, but because I mean, who knows? It could like considering Hisoka's hit list, it could just keep going. Who fucking knows? But yeah, and then we ended the episode with Goto versus Hisoka, so that's gonna happen. I just don't see how good. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm underestimating the Butlers. I mean, they are Butlers to the Zoldyck family, but it's Hisoka though. Like I just don't know. It's interesting as well, like the cards and then the coins, because of course he uses the coins, doesn't he? It's like an interesting sort of battle that they had going on there. And the fact that Hisoka managed to catch, like, how many of them? I think it was at least 8 with bungee gun. I mean, that's insane. Especially how fast they would have been flung. I mean, what did you say? They were, basically the impact of, like, bullets. Do you know how fast that is? How the hell could you have the wherewithal to, manage to grab one? Never mind, like, 8 of them. God, Hisoka, you're crazy. I think that's pretty much it for this episode. There's also the little sort of line that Subone mentioned about Illumi and Milky being like their mother, which I thought was interesting. Because yeah, the mother is a bit odd, isn't she? Whereas Silva seems a bit more straight up and straightforward. So yeah, it kind of does make sense in that regard. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've got So yeah, that was a lot. Right, well, that was all I got for that episode. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below, I have links to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish. And I also have a Patreon page as well. So if you do want to support me on Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards depending on how much you want to support me with. So there's the early access tier for $5 a month. That gives you episodes a week early. And I was doing 4 episodes of this show, but by the time this episode comes out on YouTube, it'll be finished anyway, and I'll be finished the whole show. So yeah, I mean, you can go become an early access tier patron now and have access to, what would it be? Because episode 142 will be out the same day as this one, I think. So you'll have access to the next 6 episodes, the last 6, if you want, or just wait for the next 3 weeks and they'll all be out anyway. So there's that. There's also full length tier there for $10 a month. That doesn't matter for this show, but for other shows you will need that. And then there are other tiers where you can pay to have a certain show reacted to as well. So if you want me to react to a show, go have a look at those tiers and see what they offer. But that's all I got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.